This is the August 20th, 2021 Real Estate and Open Space Committee meeting. We were at 8:32. We went into executive session, and we are now out of executive session and into our open meeting. We are changing the agenda a little bit, and we're going to first discuss the evaluation forms, which I think you've all received copies of. Okay. I want to thank Kathy and Carol. You guys did a great job in doing these forms. It's really a good job, and I think our purpose was to be a little more thorough and to provide some more information and kind of give some information that we think that would preclude having any questions come up later. We want to foresee what questions might be and answer them ahead of time and do these forms. Amy, if you'd like to come up, please. Because I can't read with these on. Amy, this is the what we're calling the Site Visit Conservation Assessment Form. And our intent was that you would be the person who would use this particular form when we do a site visit, that your input and your knowledge would be able to do this form to give us, the recommendations as far as conservation. So questions or suggestions?
No questions as far at this point. All of these are things that I would be able to easily figure out for each of the parcels.
It's just something that you can kind of keep this in mind as we're doing a site visit, so that these, could answer these questions.
No, if I, as a follow-up, if I have any additional suggestions, I'll happily make them for additions
Okay.
to the form.
All right.
I don't have any at this particular time.
Okay, alrighty. And do you think this would be a good tool for you to use?
I do think so.
Okay.
Yeah. It's something that we could easily take, on the site visit and make notes and
Yeah.
then finish up in the office. And then just have documentation of the conservation assessment, values assessment of each individual parcel that we see.
Okay, all right, thank you so
So-
much.
Thank you. Sorry, I was a little late this morning.
That's okay, we're all 2 beats behind the band right now.
So thank you for putting this together.
Oh, thank you.
Well, we took from different
Yeah.
other places things just to see if we could use it as a tool just to get more information.
Mm-hmm.
So that's where, if there are things here that don't really ever apply, you should let us know, because we don't really know everything here. Margot probably does, but some of us don't.
I will take a little bit more of
Okay.
an in-depth look at this in the next week or so and offer you some feedback. I apologize, it's been a little hectic the past couple of weeks.
Yeah, well, thank you, Amy, we always appreciate your.
Thank you.
May I
input.
ask a question as
Sure.
the newbie here? So, Amy, is it typical that when the committee is looking at a parcel, that you'll go out on the site visit as
Yes.
part of that?
Yep,
And-
I'm usually invited, and
Yeah.
I appreciate being invited to them. I hope to be able to, always advise the committee in regards to a lot of the natural communities that are out there and
That's great.
various
because,
other conservation aspects.
Yeah, Amy always picks up and notices things that we would probably just walk
Yep.
on past and not
Yep.
even, not even realize what's there, at least I would anyways. So, yeah, we appreciate her input and her expertise and
Okay.
knowledge in these things.
Great.
Thank you, Amy.
Thanks.
You're busy, thank
Thanks.
you. Okay, let's do the site information form for the real estate and open space. It's 3 pages. I think Carol and Kathy have done a great job on this. This is the form, Kathy, tell us when we would use this particular form.
Well, I think that when we are approached by you know, potential, someone who comes in and asks us to look at a property for potential purchase by the town or donation to the town, that we would try to get a lot of this information before we went on the site visit. That would just inform us of the particulars of the property.
Okay. So this is pre-site visit,
Yeah,
okay. Any questions from anyone, or any additions or changes, or?
I have one.
Dave.
I would suggest that you have map and parcel information on there, but just looking down, it says, do any surveys exist for this property?
Mhm.
That if you can put a space for registered book and page for where that, and the same thing with deeds and so forth, so that you have a source for the legal
Okay,
deed
so,
and plan.
so
informed.
under surveys, do you think this should go?
Under surveys and probably, I assume that there's a deed in here, I haven't gotten to that, but, you know, you've got some legal access, well, that's access.
Okay,
But, you know, we should be looking up the deed and any plans that exist at the registry
okay, so
to validate some of this information.
under surveys and deeds, it should also include like you said the page number?
Yeah, you've got a date here,
Yeah, I mean,
but one should say, a book and page,
book and page?
registry book and page.
Oh, okay, registry book,
And the same
okay.
thing with the deed. We should have that in hand before we go out.
Okay, okay, that's good.
I think the reference is normally to record plan versus a survey. So title information, deed, record plan, and then the reference to any site survey that might have been done outside the record plan.
John, can you use a microphone, just when you
Okay.
respond, sorry.
Yeah, I think that's really what you're talking about. There's a reference to deed book and page, then plan book and page.
Right.
So plan book and page are called record plans, plans of record. They might not be the current site survey, and they might not have all that survey information.
Right.
So they're a little bit different than what you might ask in a survey, but nonetheless, still incredibly helpful when you're doing the initial due diligence. with
And
this property.
clearly, I know that there's some properties that have never been registered, plans have never been registered. That could be so noted that it's not a registered plan.
Any other comments? Questions? No? All right. The third sheet is the real estate and open space post-site visit evaluation form. Now, this is what, for those of you who have not been on site visits with us, when we usually plan a site visit right before our monthly meeting, so that then we can all come back here, sit down and work on this particular evaluation form. I think it's very thorough, but I will take any comments or suggestions from anyone. As you can see, we always rate it. Sometimes we used a number rating, but we decided to do away with that. So it's high, medium, or low. And of course, this final would be something that we would include in our presentation to the Board of Selectmen when we discuss this property with them in executive session.
The only thing I might suggest adding is consistency with the local comprehensive plan.
Consistency with what?
The local comprehensive plan, the town plan.
Isn't that on the bottom?
It's, there's an open space plan,
Okay,
open space and recreation plan.
Okay.
Yeah, but that's, I assume that's a subset of
yeah,
the larger town plan.
yep.
Okay, anyone else?
Sorry. Once again, Margot, sorry.
Um,
Consistency with local
The local comprehensive plan.
comprehensive. Thanks.
And John, you would be someone we would talk to about the local comprehensive plan?
I think so,
Yeah, I think so. Okay. Any other questions or comments on it? Are we good?
Good job.
Yeah, great job. Thank you very much, Carol, Kathy. Thank you very much for all your work in putting this together. As Kathy mentioned, we had 3 or 4 different evaluation forms, and what we wanted to do was consolidate and update and make them more thorough and more applicable to what we were doing. Okay, thank you very much. We will now go back to our agenda. First of all, we'd like to introduce our new Board of Selectmen liaison to our committee, Mr. Michael McCaskill. Welcome, Michael. We went off a changed agenda a little bit, so
Thank you.
that's why.
Yeah, thank you. I apologize for being late. I had to take somebody to the hospital and didn't realize the check-in was about a 2-hour process.
Oh, sorry, sorry.
Here I am.
Yeah,
So,
Everybody's going to be all right.
so thank you for having me.
sure. We're glad to have you.
So I'm Michael
I-
McCaskill, and I actually chose to be on this committee this year with the goals and objectives of the board, which is to try and clean up some of our owners unknown miscellaneous parcels. So we're going to make a fairly aggressive attempt to clean up our books this year.
Good, and, well, as you know, we've been discussing this for several years.
Yes.
So, are you familiar with everyone on the committee? Do we need to do introductions?
Why don't we?
Yeah,
I
why
am
don't we?
familiar with some, but why don't we do
Okay,
introductions?
Kathy, want
Kathy
just,
Green.
Jim Atkinson.
Yes.
Margot Fenn?
Marcy Smith?
Darrell Porter?
Dave Callahan.
Elaine Chapel,
Thank you.
you know me. Okay. Michael, what we've always wanted is clear direction from the Board of Selectmen. As you know, we have presented all these properties through the years, and it just stalls. One of the major roadblocks has always been finding title research person. Have we made any progress on that, or are there now people that have been identified who would be able to do this?
So the answer is not yet, but we're aggressively working on it. So I
Okay.
met with the senior partner for KP Law last week, Lauren Goldberg. Lauren is assembling the team at KP Law right now, and then they have been given all the information that was in our packet last week or 2 weeks ago.
Okay.
With all the owners unknown, miscellaneous
Right.
parcels, with direction on what we're trying to do. So she's gonna put a proposal together and come back to the board. And then we're ultimately gonna go to town meeting with something to get more substantial funding to actually be able to do it.
So they're going to identify the properties that they think are suitable for town acquisition?
I think you guys are gonna assemble those
All
properties.
right,
And I'd
that's-
like to get a hold of the list that you have. So it would be a cooperative effort. I
Okay.
believe that our interest is to go after all of them. So our interest now is to clean our books up and not have a $4.7 million accruing interest on our books every year. So
Yeah.
the interest portion of the owners unknown and miscellaneous parcels is about $4.7 million and accruing every year. And the Judah Eldridge property that we, town meeting voted, has already gone up another 100,000 since we voted it. And that's a rough number, but at least 100,000 since we voted it 3 years ago to take. So, you know, we're putting ourselves in a bad position and recognize that 3 years was generous. I think we've been talking about this for 15 years.
Yeah, as Dave, one moment, I just want to
Yeah,
comment.
I just want to make sure that you're aware that there are multiple types of owners unknown property.
I am.
Okay. Because some of them are being taxed and a lot more are not on the tax rolls.
A mess is the best way to describe it.
Dave, is there, on this map that we have up there, is it possible to identify?
Yeah, basically, it's the purple spots, and there's different shades of purple in there that identify whether it's in truly owners unknown or whether, you know, I say truly owners unknown, it's not even on the tax rolls at all. Nobody's being taxed on it. Things like the Judah Eldridge appear in there in a different color of pink type. And just for your information, that this stuff is available on Google Earth. Is Jamie there? Could you go to I think there was a second thing. The problem with this map is that it's so far out. Whoops.
The 6 ponds?
Yeah, try, I know there were 3 of them. Okay. So this gives you an example of what we set up for the maps, so this is the Hawks Nest Copla's property on the left. You know, so there's a whole lot of that pink over there. That's the sand pit and so forth. And on top of that, we lay, these are trails that have been laid out. So this was done to try and show, these are existing trails as of January. These maps are actually generated, this ones are done in ArcMap, but I can give you a copy, and I have given the town, these maps in Google Earth. So anybody, they're publicly available. I know they're on your server here. If anybody needs it, I'm more than happy to send them to you. This data is from 2020. I do have the data for 2021 for that, but this is what I personally use, and I share with the committee all the time, because you can actually turn any of these items off, these colors and these groups. So there's groups for town-owned property, which actually shows whether it's town-owned, whether it's police department, park and rec, and so on and so forth. It's a marvelous tool to be able to do it. So I just want to make you aware of that.
Thank you, I will have you send that to me.
Yeah,
Okay.
and a visual concept of it, it makes it so much easier to understand, especially when you see what's adjacent to some of these properties, which might consider them more important if they're adjacent to a conservation area or they're adjacent to a recreation area or something, and Dave has been great about doing that. We've done presentations where he has changed, and we can.
I can do one live now, but I'm not sure that we have the time for it. I'd be more than happy to, have you used Google Earth or not?
Yes,
Yeah, okay, so I can just send you the
we'll get
GPS
together on
file.
those. Thank you.
Yeah, these are very, you had a third map just for, what was the
I-
third?
Jamie, there was a third map there, I can't even remember, I sent these, this is with the legend, and that's it without a legend, so you can, you know, but this is just a fixed environment, but anyway, I'll get you the thing and you can play with it.
So.
Set aside enough time, because it's
Yeah.
fun to get lost in. That's all.
Dave, the purple then, are
The purples are owners unknown.
the green, the real green down the bottom is?
It's a golf course.
Town.
Trying to think of where that is.
Town.
Oh, that's the golf course.
So it's town-owned properties, or the
There's
green?
the golf course is in light green, the darker green is conservation land above it. That green is Mass
State.
Department of Recreation. You'll notice that there's a finger of owners unknown right in the middle of that property in the southwest corner, or southeast corner. The brown over to the right, I've actually got in this model large landholders, so that's all Paul Cuddy stuff. You can see in the middle of the Copla's property that we've been discussing is on there. Town properties are all different colors, so it's a good research tool, so you get a sense of the connectivity and things that are going on, so.
Thank you, Dave.
Yep.
Yeah, it's great work that Dave does, Michael. You'll appreciate him we appreciate him so much. Just as a little side note, this was something, someone had passed along some old file to me. This is from April 2009 from the Harwich Taxpayers Association. And one-time economic impacts. Obtain and sell only 25% of the owner's unknown property, and the amount of savings was $5 million. And that was 2009. Okay, that's my point.
One other thing, there is a layer in here that identifies tax liens. Now, this is August 2020 data that I'd be able to send. I'm working on the 2021. But, and so you can just turn that on and you can find out property that, and you can click on any of these parcels. It'll tell you all of the assessor's data. I don't know, it'll give you tax lien data if it's such.
Great program.
It's a good way to find out a lot of information very quickly.
And we have identified properties in the past that, I don't know how much, I mean, I have the tax lien list, the current one too. where do we begin? We've already identified properties. Actually, 2 years ago, 3 years ago, we actually requested the town treasurer to send 3 properties for foreclosure. I know they're in process. I know the legal had already passed it on. I don't know what their status is right now. But I do know that we can do that this committee can request that certain properties be sent for foreclosure. What's your directive? Where do we start?
So I would start by giving me what you've already done, and then a list of priority properties.
Okay.
Where we're gonna meet, we'll have a joint meeting with the, once we get the proposals from KP Law, we'll have a joint meeting with this group.
Okay,
And John Idman, I'm sure, will be there, and town administrator, and put our heads together on how aggressive we want to be and what direction we want to go first.
okay, September 2019, we already had a list of priorities and properties, so
Perfect.
unless there's new ones to add to it,
I can assure you that it's going to be worked on now. So it's not just conversation level anymore, it's a Board of Selectmen goal for 2022. And the goal really is to make a policy, so the next board doesn't change it until it's finished. So we're gonna put all the pieces together, make a policy, so that future boards have to follow that policy until we clean this mess up.
now.
Not gonna happen in a year.
Yeah, and I know you had mentioned at the selectmen meeting last week about, there are some of those properties on the tax lien list that now owe more than what the property value is. How are you going to address that?
We're gonna let the lawyers tell us how we're gonna address it.
Okay, all right.
I have an idea, but it's only an idea.
Okay. This is from, I hate to throw stuff up,
That's
but
okay.
I'm just trying to show you how long we've been dealing with this. January of 2015 from David Spitz, at the time who was the town planner. Possible municipally owned parcels for disposition. Only one was ever disposed of. Are we still going to consider some of these?
So we're working on right now, I don't know how much you follow our agendas, but we are 203 Bank Street, Bell's Neck, which is the old West
Right.
Harwich School, and Willow Street, which was another one.
Yeah, well, Willow is on
Those 3
here.
are being worked on right now.
Yeah,
And we hope to have those, we don't have to go before town meeting on 2 of them. We still have to go back before town meeting, I believe, on the Willow Street. But 2 of them, the RFPs are already done.
right,
Bank Street got held up because apparently there's a new conservation line there.
right.
So we're getting that restaked. That's due to be surveyed early September. But the board is pushing these
Yeah,
now
well,
to-
we've been
to-
pushing Bank Street for years, right? I mean, just, obviously, even before 2015, we were talking about Bank Street, and would like to see that cleared off.
You'll see some progress this year.
Thank you. We would love to see progress, believe me. I mean, we all work hard on, James and Mark are new to the committee, but the rest of us have been around a little bit. And we really put a lot of time and effort into researching these properties and like I said, it gets so far and then it dies. So it's very frustrating, and it's, you know, a little disconcerting not to see things follow through. So I would love to see Bank Street.
I'm not a can kicker. I can assure you that we're gonna get some work done.
Okay, all righty. Questions from anyone for Mr. McCaskill? John?
Yeah, it's just one comment. You know, lawyers sometimes have, lawyers can sometimes state the obvious. It drives people crazy, but sometimes it's important to do. There have been a number of issues discussed here that are important to separate from one another. The first is owners unknown and miscellaneous parcels. I think when Michael articulated to clear that up, that's absolutely the foundational thing you have to do. But I think it means finding the owners of owners unknown land and putting the miscellaneous parcels on the ground. That's step one. When we talk about disposition or actually going through the tax foreclosure process for taxes under tax takings, those are other issues that have to follow the first step, which is clearing up the owners and then putting properties on the ground. Once you do that, then the town has a whole bunch of opportunities to see where that land lies, whether the owners we've identified actually are going to pay the back taxes. There's also this whole other subset of land in the town, such as we know, I think, who the owners are and who their heirs are, but they haven't paid any taxes, they're dead, and we've just stopped sending them tax bills. That's another issue that doesn't kind of turn up. Other issues are land of low value,
Yeah.
statutorily defined, and then just other land that isn't that highly assessed. If the town has an interest in them, get them when they're assessed really low, they don't have access. So that's another thing that exists in the records today, but once we get all the titles cleared up, once we have all the land on the ground, then through the Board of Selectmen, Real Estate and Open Space, assessing, we can kind of talk as the full town organization operation to discuss how we move forward with that. But I think what Michael said in the first instance is absolutely the first step that has to happen, and it's the first time I'm aware of that the town is really taking this seriously and talking about funding it, which is clearing up all the ownership and then putting the land on the ground.
Well, clearing up all the ownership is not going to happen overnight. I mean, this is a
It isn't.
long process to find, contact these owners or even contact their some descendants somewhere. I mean, we all know that even some people who are involved in land acquisition privately hire genealogists to find, descendants and approach them about acquiring a piece of the property. I mean, doing these title searches is a long process so if KP Law is going to do it, do they have enough staff and time to do it? Because you can work on one for a very long time before you get arrested. So hopefully they're going to look at things that look like they're going to pay off sooner rather than later. I mean, some of these properties, they've been on here so long, and why they're still there, I know they took a lot of land of low value off last year. Some of those properties were taken off, but there's still so much here. And there are people who own more than one property that are on the tax lien list. It just seems that we have to be a little more aggressive with some of these folks.
The answer to your question is yes, they have the resources. We haven't picked them yet. We're going to explore others as well.
Okay,
But Lauren Goldberg assured me that they have high-level and low-level people that work on this that won't cost the town as much as just going out and picking somebody. Town has a lot of options on land takings, and I think, it's a lot that we probably don't want to talk about.
okay.
But we have a lot of
I know,
options.
we've,
And we have an obligation under our CWMP to do a certain amount of nitrogen removal, which gives us extra options on acquiring land. So
yeah.
we are going to aggressively pursue this.
Okay. And just so you know, that in 2018, members of this committee did go to a presentation with KP Law and got all the information about town acquiring properties and all that. So we've been into it. We've delved into it, and hopefully with your guidance and with their directive, we can finally make some progress on these things. Any questions? Anyone? Carol?
Just for clarification, so the Board of Selectmen's looking for you want us to submit the proposal we already submitted from 2019 and then make recommendations? Because as we said, it's going to take a while, so we need to prioritize.
Yes.
Okay,
Okay.
that's all right.
And then look forward to a joint meeting with the Board of Selectmen and Town Council and
Okay.
John. And
Okay. All right.
we can all put our heads together and really brainstorm which direction we want to go.
Yeah, and I think at that meeting, it would be helpful if Dave can do one of these presentations.
Absolutely.
Okay, so you can,
We'll work that out in terms of
Okay.
focusing on,
all right, thank you.
The assessor's working on this as well, so is the tax collector, so we're
Yeah,
gonna put all hands on this.
yeah, please.
Question, Mike, did the town let their ArcMap, ArcGIS license expire? Because they were gonna go to, I don't know, PeopleSoft or whatever it was. and then that didn't go. Are they gonna go back and get another one of those licenses for the town?
I
'Cause-
don't know, but I'll find out for you. I know the water department, I believe, has it still.
They have one, yes. I just didn't know whether, I know that they didn't have staff to support it.
We have been working with Dan Pelletier as well on this,
Okay.
for anything that would be beneficial for the water department.
Yeah, and we've worked with the water department in recent years to identify properties and work with them and help them, whatever we could to help acquire, especially some properties that they were looking at for maybe possibly putting a new well, locations like that. And
Yeah.
so, yeah, we have a good relationship with Dan Pelletier and this committee.
You just mentioned that the assessors department and the tax collector's working on it. So should we know what those, they're
The-
working on, so we don't duplicate efforts here? Just-
I would say yes, but let's wait until we have the joint meeting.
Yeah.
And right now, it's just putting pieces together. We need to, like I had mentioned, we need to put a policy together on how this is gonna work. So we're collecting all the information right now, and we're working with the tax office to get another attorney to do more foreclosures on tax liens. So
Right, yeah.
we're not trying to go out and kick people out of their houses by any means, and I don't wanna say that, but there's some stuff here that we need to clean up. And since we started a year ago, or 2 years ago, they've made pretty good progress in some parcels, not a lot, but as soon as they file the foreclosure, people pay their taxes.
Yeah, well, and there are some entities who do not pay the taxes until they see that they're selling the property, and then they pay up. So some of that can go on for a few years, too. and
There's
you're
a
aware
lot of that.
Yeah,
And
there's-
I'm looking at one of the parcels right now that I'm aware of, and I know who owns it, and
Yeah, and that's.
you don't.
Yeah.
So, that's,
Any general idea of when that joint meeting might be?
I'm hoping within the next 3 weeks.
Okay.
Good.
All right.
So they're working on the proposal now. It's really up to the law firm at this point to put together the numbers in the proposal.
Okay, all right, good, because the sooner the better. Anything else? Anyone? Questions, comments? Michael, you good?
Great.
Are we
Thank you.
good?
Thanks,
And
Mike.
Thank you
again, I
very much.
apologize for being late.
No, that's okay, and we're looking forward to a good working relationship with you. Thank you. All right, members' reports. Kathy, anything to update us on, or anything going on? CPC, I know, has some new members on it.
The who?
CPC committee has new members. I think a new member was appointed.
Yeah, we hadn't been,
Oh, you haven't met?
we haven't had a meeting, we didn't have a meeting in August, so
Oh, okay.
whatever. I did attend a Zoom meeting recently, this week, sponsored by the Community Development Partnership, and it was about regionalizing the Lower Cape, to make a working group to see if they wanted to regionalize for funding, potentially. So I sat on the call, and there were either chairs of the Affordable Housing Trust or chairs of CPC from towns from Harwich up to P-Town. Okay, so there was maybe 25 people on the call or something. And what they were trying to do to decide if it would be worthwhile for them to form a group, a working group, that would come up with some guidelines, perhaps in regionalization for funding. Because a lot of towns, when they're proposing a big project, approach other towns about, potentially helping out with funding. And usually the only time that happens is if it's a special project. Like, for example, the Cape Village for autistic adults, that garnered support from some other towns. But typically, a lot of the towns are like, well, we can't use our affordable housing funds to help affordable housing in another town. So that was what the conversation was about. I would say the majority of people were in favor of, forming some group, because ultimately, affordable housing is a regional problem. It's not just a town problem. It's not, you don't just provide affordable housing for the people that live in your town. I mean, you do, but workforce housing, it can be regionalized. So, but I will say I was a little disappointed that there was nobody from Harwich on the call.
Interesting.
But it was somewhat informative. But I'm not sure that it's gonna go anywhere, because it's like another group to meet that
Yeah.
wouldn't have any skin in the game, so to speak.
Yeah,
So,
okay.
but since we usually have affordable housing news, I just thought I'd throw that out there.
Thank you. Yeah, thank you very much. James, anything?
Not today, thank you.
Okay. Margot?
Nope.
You're good? Marcia?
The only thing I was just gonna report was that, land on Cherokee
Uh-huh.
is still pending. It's supposed to close in September 15th.
Wow.
I don't know, until it closes, I don't know any details of the
Yeah,
transaction.
why does that keep getting put
Could
off?
be just that they're probably trying to get permits from the town with regards to any type of development, so.
Oh, okay.
Or it could be conservation issues. It's hard to say.
Yeah, okay. James, Mark, you may, probably don't know. Zero Cherokee Road was one of the CPC applications that we had put in 2 years ago, and then it didn't work out. But we're following up to see when the property finally closes, so that we can close our books on it. Thank you, Marcia. Carol, anything going on in your world?
No, nothing we haven't already covered, thanks.
Okay, good. Dave?
Nope.
You're good? All right, I am too. I have nothing.
Are we not gonna talk about the review tax collectors, owners unknown and miscellaneous properties, or do you consider that?
No, I think that's probably just what we've done. I tried to leave that as a very broad, because I didn't know what Mr. McCaskill was
Okay.
going to discuss with us. Okay, our next meeting date would be September 17th, 2021. And I would call for a motion for adjournment.
So moved.
Second. All in favor?
Aye.
Meeting is closed. Thank you all.